Best known for his musical Nine, which was inspired by Federico Fellini's movie 8½, Mario Fratti has written 91 plays that have received some 600 productions in 24 countries. His musical won 7 Tony Awards, the O'Neill Award, and 8 Drama Desk Awards, among other distinctions. A Tragedy in Iraq is a newer work about 29 American soldiers who committed suicide in Iraq and was produced in Tokyo and Barcelona. The Otto Award for Political Theater is yet another of his citations and hints at the first question I would like to ask you. But first, welcome to Breaking Through. Here we are on 55th Street in the center of this cultural mecca. And as I was walking up here and as I came into your apartment and seeing these incredible art and remembrances that are here, I have to think that this is part of an expression of your mind or an expression of your creativity. Are you aware of all of these things? This is what feeds your creativity?
No, not really. I mean, I had plays, I have posters, I put them around, and then I feel good because I feel I have done something in the world. I'm being useful. Mm-hmm.
So you're not a minimalist. You don't believe in minimalism where you actually take everything away in a stark, bare room, and that's where creativity takes place.
Not at all.
I mean, some people think that.
No, I want to be surrounded by things, by objects, by paintings, and also by music. I keep the music going on.
And music is going on. Like, are we talking about Italian music or all kinds of music?
Classic.
Classical music.
Classical music.
Who's your favorite classical?
I mean, Mozart, and usually Mozart. No, sometimes Wagner, but mostly.
Oh, sometimes Wagner. Such different moods.
Yeah,
You're talking.
I don't really. It's just a background.
Yes, I understand.
Background.
You know the studies that have been done about the influence of music on creativity and intelligence. That actually, when classical music in the study is in the background, that the intelligence and the intelligence quotient actually increases. When it's been for rats, or exactly when they play classical music to rats in a maze, they're better able to learn how to get to the cheese much more quickly and successfully. And when they listen to soft, pleasant music, they also learn. When they're listening to rock music or to heavy metal music, they wander aimlessly and they don't even care about finding the cheese. But that must be a part of it too.
The background, I mean, I think it helps me.
Yes.
I'm very creative. I forget. I work sometimes for 3, 4, 5 hours. I look at the watch and say, oh my God, 5 hours ago, thanks to the music, which softens up, the atmosphere.
Mm-hmm. What difference have you hoped to make in the world through your work?
I think I am more aware than the audience. The audience sometimes is lazy and they don't notice the tragedies of contemporary life. So what I'm doing, I'm stressing a certain tragedy, a certain situation, a certain exploitation. I'm indicating cheating, I mean, there's so much cheating, so much stealing, so much exploitation. And in my characters, I try to indicate that constantly. So in a way, I am a boring teacher making people aware of things they were ignoring.
So you're putting the spotlight on things that they might be trying to avoid.
Absolutely.
When did you begin your journey as a writer?
This is an interesting question, and I surprise everybody when I tell them that my professors in university said I couldn't write anything unless I had read everything which preceded. I think it's stupid. So, but at least I listened to them until I was 30. On my birthday, when I was 30, I noticed I still had 100 books to read. And I said, my God, I have so many opinions about the world. I mean, I would like to, when I was 18, when I was 23, when I was 27, I had opinions. They're wasted now, they're lost. So I started at 30 and I never stopped.
Where does the work come from? What is your motivation? And so what is the experience of creating? Do you write every day?
No, people don't write every day. I learned from Arthur Miller, which is interesting, that you keep a story inside you. It's like a pregnancy. You keep it inside for months and months and months. And when it's ready, it's like a baby. It comes out and you can write it in 10 days. That's what it does. His masterpieces have been written in 10 days. And I usually write, concentrate 10 days, and I finish something. So during the other months, what I'm doing, I'm just I'm translating, I'm writing articles, I'm a drama critic, I read, but the real creativity happens 10 days, 12 days when the baby is ready.
So is that to say that at some prior time you have a realization that you like to deal in this subject matter or in this particular story? In other words, you're aware of it and then it comes back to you, like, so to speak, 9 months later?
No, basically, I am in love with the subject, a conflict, a polemic conflict. And I'm thinking about it constantly, constantly. And then little details are added to my story, to my vision of the world. And when all these little details are there, then it's ready and it goes.
Fascinating. How did your family life shape your interest and talent in writing plays?
Well, my father and mother never went to the theater, basically, because in my city there was one play a year, maybe. But my father encouraged me to read. First message was, every morning you must read the paper. Take the good paper and read. Learn difficult words. Commitment to the world. So he was a union man. He was a good man. I admired him a lot. So I got inspiration from him. You see, once, for instance, we met his friends. There was a carpenter, there was a worker, etc., etc. And I saw that I could teach them something, and they were listening to me. I was a kid, and they were listening to me. So I thought, well, if I use my wisdom, things will improve.
How about your mother? What was her influence like in your decision to write?
Not really. Not really. She even tried to stop me from going to the university. She said, why don't you buy an elegant suit and stay here in town? And I went.
What would you have done at home with the suit?
Nothing.
Uh-huh.
Oh, she mentioned, oh, you will be so elegant that you will conquer many women.
Uh-huh.
That's so silly. I mean,
Wow.
I took the money and I went away.
Wow.
Yeah, to the university.
At the time, I knew nothing of your prior work that involved Fellini, and I certainly didn't know that Tennessee Williams was your neighbor. As we're sitting here in your living room, I'm very humbled as I recall a story that you told me a little while ago, which was that in the morning you'd be sitting at the desk behind me and then looking across the courtyard to the window just across, and hopefully we'll get a shot of it, where Tennessee Williams would be seated at his desk. In other words, as the work was beginning in the morning, and you kind of like give each other a wave. What an amazing anecdote, what an amazing story to tell.
I was encouraged by his gentleness, by his smile, and by his greatness. I would say hello, he would say hello, then we would meet in the elevator, we would walk a few steps away, and he was always so gentle, so poetic. In a way, surprised me how humble he was. Mm-hmm. And he was the only playwright I know who said good things about the other playwrights. Mm. Usually playwrights always dislike the work of other people. He didn't.
Oh, the jealousies of the egotism and the jealousies one and the other.
Not of him.
He never showed that.
Never.
How fascinating.
Yeah.
Now, at that time when he was living there and you were here, that period through the 70s and the 80s,
74, 75, yeah.
74 and 5, which is actually a good period for him. Now, were you just kind of coming along? You moved to New York in '63.
Yeah.
Now, at that time, were you producing at that time? Were you?
Yes, I already had a couple of big plays in town, and I even included a couple of his lines in a play of mine. And I gave the script to him. I mentioned Tennessee Williams says that, and he was very pleased.
Really? How amazing that you would have done that at that time, and he probably felt honored and pleased that you did it. Nowadays, you get a lawsuit from someone if you use their words in your own play.
No, I mean, it was a compliment. It was a compliment.
Well,
yeah.
It's true, but you notice how times have changed.
Oh my God, I know.
Right? How crazy. You know, when we met not long ago at this Turkish iftar dinner, I asked you two questions without really knowing the connection with Tennessee Williams, or even that you had done 9 and that you had that connection with Fellini. But I asked you two questions. I asked, what do you think of Federico Fellini, and what do you think of Tennessee Williams? And then it was nothing less than startling that you had these very strong karmic relationships, if you will, with both of these personalities. But which of these two, what would you say, in no particular order, what would you say about these minds? You mentioned Tennessee. What about Federico Fellini?
I was a young journalist, and I was following his rehearsals. And I was fascinated by his personality. He seemed dead. He didn't seem like an active director. He would say, go. And then they left freedom to the actors, and all of a sudden they would say, okay, do this, this, and that. So it was the kind of passive director that fascinated me. His relationship with women fascinated me. He didn't treat them well, okay? He used them, and he betrayed them. So I wrote a play, which I'll give it to you, by the way, which is interesting. It's called Six Passionate Women, which is the life of Fellini. That was the beginning of the musical Nine, how he behaved with women. So in a way, in the case of Fellini, I didn't exchange with him. I was too shy to talk to him, but I was observing him constantly during rehearsals. That was the thing I learned about him. And the play is very strong play about his personality.
It certainly is very ironic that I'm thinking about La Dolce Vita, which is about actually a journalist.
Yeah, following
And observing, and observing.
He was a journalist, yeah.
Yeah,
following.
the parallel. I'm just thinking the parallel in terms of you, that you were the journalist in reality, and kind of that became the
studying him.
Studying and observing and studying. But then also that your observation of his relationship with women, it was a moralistic observation that you were making. I think also there's something about justice or injustice, because I see you actually, when you said that to me, I got your protectiveness of them. You felt that he had no right to betray them the way that he did.
Yeah, he was taking advantage of his profession to blackmail them and to have them.
Like the casting couch, the power of the director, the power of the great film. But his work was so sexually charged. I'm not surprised to hear that.
Well, he took advantage and he asked for something special from them, and,
and he
I was surprised, yeah.
And you were surprised.
Yeah.
Were you offended?
Not offended, no. I'm a grown-up fellow,
Yes, I understand, but at the same time, some would
I
think...
felt sorry for the women. I always feel sorry.
Yeah.
By the way, in all my plays, the woman wins all the time. Because I feel sorry in a way for how they're treated in society, and I make them win.
You give them, so you have the heroes are Italian, and women always win.
Always win.
Okay, in your plays.
Yeah.
So this is your agenda.
In a way, I mean, I like women, and I study them. I study the psychology of women, and I'm defensive.
Do you love women?
Oh yeah.
So do you really, like, women are mysterious?
Without women, we would be lost.
What would we do?
Absolutely, I adore women.
Yeah. Please speak of the theater today. Where has it gone, and where is it going? And everyone always says that there are no great writers for the theater, that the great writers, if there are good writers, the kids coming up who decide to be writers, that they are pulled into Hollywood, writing for films, that the only successful, it seems to me, that most of the successful things that are done on Broadway are revivals, because the great writers wrote them 50, 60 years ago, and they are as strong today as they ever were. But what would you say about the theater?
I'm a drama critic.
Yes.
And I've been following the theater from the 60s.
Yes.
There were different stages. There was the avant-garde stage, the nudity stage, I mean, the acrobatic stage, which were negative. Now we are coming back to the word, finally. That's why, all of a sudden, they rediscover the great plays from the past, from the 70s and the 80s, where what prevailed was the word. I feel good about this. Unfortunately, they don't listen to the young playwrights, because they're afraid of losing $10 million. Producing today on Broadway is $10 million. So they prefer to use the reviews from the past. But they are good playwrights and good dialogue, and I'm very happy that the dialogue is coming back.
So that's rather startling. So you're seeing actually the pendulum is swung back in the correct direction.
Correct direction.
And that, of course, is your value as a writer, is all in the dialogue and in the word.
Yes, I would say that I'm talking about pro domo mea, in the sense that I'm happy that they love dialogue, because I'm a specialist of dialogue.
We've been speaking with Mario Fratti, international playwright. To learn more about his work, please visit mariofratti.com. For Mario Fratti and for myself, W.J. O'Reilly, Be well, and see you next time.